chapter 4 of the book of Deuteronomy, which will start next week. If you look for me, you'll find me. If you look for me with all of your heart and all of your soul, you'll find me. So that's one of the things that we have to understand, is that no one can show up at Shamayim, no one can show up in Shamayim with an excuse that, I didn't know. I didn't have a chance to get to read it. What do you mean? The reality of it is that every single one of us is responsible for our life, responsible to know all these things, and we cannot go up to Shamayim with an excuse, I didn't get a chance to do it. Why? Because someone that wants to make a living has to learn about his job, right? Now someone that wants to be, if I told you, listen, you want to be a millionaire? 99.999% of people will say yes. Okay. If you want to be a millionaire, I can teach you a profession of how to be a millionaire. So, okay, when do I start? I tell, okay, listen, not only I can teach you, but you have to understand, it's a tough schedule. No problem. You have to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning. No problem. You finish training every day at 10 o'clock at night. No problem. You do this every single day for 6 days a week. We don't work on Shabbat. No problem. You have to do this and you're going to pretty much barely survive for a few years. No problem. And eventually you're going to start. You don't make $1 million day one. It's going to take you, a few years to build up. No problem. Why no problem? Because you want the goal. You want the prize at the end. How do I know this is true? I had hundreds of people come to my office every single day with the same exact dream. They all wanted to be millionaires. And every one of them would go through a process. Many people would not make it. I trained over 130 different people to be salesmen. Some of them made it and became very successful. Some of them completely wasted my time and money. But the reality of it is that everyone wanted the dream. Why? Because they see that I had a fancy watch also, but mine didn't make music like this. And they saw that someone is sitting in an office, big office, a lot of employees, in his 20s, printing money practically. Who doesn't want it? Okay, whatever you did, I want to do the same thing. Like you go to a dentist, it says rinse and repeat. Tells you, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. Say, fine, sure. If I have teeth like the woman in the picture, I'll rinse and repeat all day. He doesn't tell you that she's been doing it since she was born practically, and most likely the teeth are fake. He doesn't tell you that. So he says rinse and repeat. You say, okay, which toothbrush? It's the one that's $150. Fine, no problem. Which toothpaste? The one that's $60. No problem. Because you want the results. Same thing with these employees. All these employees came and they wanted the results. And they were willing to sacrifice. And some made it and some didn't. But either way, they were willing to sacrifice. Hashem is telling you, just like you were willing to sacrifice a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years in some cases, to reach a level of success in your career that's only going to last, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. How long is your career going to last? How long are you going to live here, Bichlal? 70, 80, 120, let's say. Moshe Rabbeinu, 120, you're Moshe Rabbeinu. Okay, you're 120 also. Let's say you live 120 years. That's it. Then what? Then you have the real world. The real world is eternal. It's forever. 1,000,000 years is just the beginning. It's just the beginning. Meaning that 120 years, it's not even a phase. It's not even equivalent to the time that it took me to pick up this cup and drink. Nothing. What's 120 years? So Hashem says, so for this 120 years, you invested 20 years to learn, to make a few dollars that, in reality, what did you really enjoy out of it? But for the eternity, for the what's going to last forever, you couldn't invest a half hour? You couldn't go to a shiur for a couple of hours. You couldn't invest 15 minutes a day. It's no excuse, my friend. Oh, I didn't know? Okay. You also didn't know how to be a millionaire before you tried being a millionaire. But that didn't stop you. You didn't know how to be a millionaire before you came to work for me. Right? But that didn't stop you from coming. In fact, it encouraged you to come. Why? Because you saw this is the place to learn how to be a millionaire. So you can't use that excuse. Oh, I didn't know. Okay. You didn't know. That's why you go to a place where you learn. Oh, I didn't have time. But you didn't say that. With the job that you were trying to work really hard, you didn't say to the guy, listen, I need to make the $1 million faster than a couple of years. Your training system takes too long. I need to make the $1 million by next week. You have something better? You didn't say that. Why? Because you said, listen, whatever it takes, you're realistic. Whatever it takes, I'm going to do, and eventually I'll get there. You didn't say I didn't have time. You didn't say I have to go watch basketball. You didn't say I have a busy schedule. When you wanted to succeed in your material world, you invested everything and anything in some cases for something that's just temporary. So why couldn't you invest some time for something that's permanent? And this is one of the things that most people today do not understand, even the ones that know exactly everything that I just said by heart. Because there's knowing it and there's living it. Living it means that your priorities are different than all of mankind. Knowing it, okay, so you read the shiur, you watched this as a clip, you read it in a book somewhere, okay, you committed it to memory, that's it, you know it. Big deal. I know what the sine and cosine and the tangent of certain numbers are. Does that mean anything to you? No. It also doesn't mean anything to me. It's completely worthless knowledge. I can tell you the financial history of certain companies. I can tell you where to find red flags in corporate financials. I can tell you who's a good CEO, who's a bad CEO, what's a good business, what's a bad business, who's going to make it, who's going to succeed, which is all based obviously on my opinion, but also experience. Is all of that worth anything? No, it's worth absolutely zero. Why? Because I'm not in the business anymore. If I was in the business, still putting money to work, that knowledge could be put to use. But if I'm not in the business world anymore, the knowledge is worth zero. Same thing with someone's Torah knowledge. When you see a guy who sometimes comes to you with black and white, acts like he knows everything, but acts like an animal, that means that everything that he learned in yeshiva, everything that he learned in the books, it's all worth zero. You see a guy that comes to his shiur, and every time you start a sentence, he completes your sentence. You also know that everything that he learns means absolutely nothing to him. It's just something committed to memory. Why? Because if he knew midot, if he had even a half an ounce of a character trait that's good quality, he would know it's not polite to do that. So, knowing it, any monkey could know it. You could even teach a monkey to speak if you really want. You could teach the parrot to speak. There's a parrot, by the way, the story about a parrot that made 2 people do tshuva already. Emet, not joking. Do you know the story about the parrot? It's not Rabbi Mizrahi's parrot. He doesn't have a parrot.
He said the story, I think.
Rabbi Mizrahi said the story. A couple of rabbis said the story. It's a famous story. It's a parrot that used to say Shabbat Shalom. And I heard it originally from Rabbi Ephraim, the story, and I also heard it from Rav Mizrahi. So there's a parrot that belonged to a rabbi, and used to say Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, all the time, Shabbat Shalom. So one day in Israel, some guy stole the parrot. He didn't know this parrot says Shabbat Shalom. He just stole the parrot. It's a nice big parrot. He stole it. After a couple of weeks, he comes back, he knocks on the rabbi's door, he goes, I'm sorry I took your parrot. And the guy's with a kippah. He He goes, oh, okay, it's okay, it's okay. He goes, no, you're not upset at me? He goes, no, absolutely not. I'm not upset at you, it's okay. He goes, I just want to let you know, Kvod Harav, that I started keeping Shabbat because of this parrot. You know, it's, he goes, why, what happened to you? He says, I don't know, it was not keeping any mitzvot, obviously. He was a thief a few weeks ago. And Shabbat, I'm smoking a cigarette, and the next thing you know, this parrot keeps screaming, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, every 2 minutes. I'm like, I started thinking to myself, the parrot knows it's Shabbat, and I don't know it's Shabbat. Start keeping Shabbat. The Rabbi says, yeah, good. You're the second guy that's done that to. You're the second guy that started keeping Shabbat because of this parrot. So, parrot has a zchut.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.